Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, September 15th. We have a great show planned for you tonight. As usual, there is a lot of drama jumping off. So we are going to get in the news. I'm having problems getting to my notes. So we may have to cut the news a little short. I'll have to go off the top of my head, myself and Brother Wendell, if I can't pull the notes up. But that's okay. That'll just make us jump into the Lost Book of Enki a little bit sooner tonight. Sister Divinity is not going to join us tonight again. She is still healing, so she will be back with us shortly. So with that said, I am going to bring on Brother Wendell. So just a second here. I know I see him here. I just saw you. Okay, there you are, Brother Wendell. Okay. Greetings, brother. You there?
Greetings.
How are you?
I'm good. It's a circus out here, ain't it?
I know. It's just been straight up off the name. I'll be looking at the news, and I'll be like, you know what? I can't with these people. I just straight up really can't. So I'm trying to get my notes to sync up. So what we're going to have to do, I'm going to go off the top of my head, but let's start with Hitlery or Hillary. Okay, so on the 9/11 memorial services that was just held, she was there, and so they shows pictures of her where she is trying to get up into this van. She walks up to the van about to leave, I guess, the little services. And so she almost passed out. She stumbles or whatever. First of all, they're holding her as she's walking to this van. Then once they open up the door or whatever, she stumbles and literally almost falls. They had to catch her, this, that, and the third. So, of course, the rumors went rampant. Because folks like, okay, we keep telling y'all this broad has health problems. And, you know, last week or the week before, she coughing and crap. Now this week, she falling up in a van. So immediately after that, all of a sudden, you see where a couple hours later, she allegedly and supposedly was spotted somewhere. I don't even know where the hell she was spotted again.
She was supposedly spotted outside the building where Chelsea lived.
Okay, where her daughter lived. Okay. So, but the thing of it is, we looking at the pictures, we're like, who the hell is that supposed to be? She's like 20 pounds slimmer and 20 years younger. Who the hell y'all think y'all fooling? And then they had the audacity to give the official story. This is just such a straight up insult to people's intelligence. That she had pneumonia. Now, if you had pneumonia, how's you a couple of hours later outside your daughter's house waving to people? Which is it? So, of course, you know, the alternative news media, and I guess that was just so off the chain. Even the mainstream media had to come out saying, people saying that wasn't her, that's a body double, blah, blah, blah. So then the new, I think it was Channel 4, I forget Channel 4's little early news people was like, well, see, you know, sometimes lighting can make you look younger and thinner. I'm like, bull crap. Digital cameras show every wrinkle in your face. Plus, on top of that, it automatically puts 10 to 15 pounds on you. So y'all can miss me with that bull S. So, anyhow, long story short, so that was one rumor that, you know, she had a body double come out. So behind that, they're trying to say that the chick died because it's a video circulating around on YouTube and it's been going around on Facebook saying what one news reported that she had died at a hospital. They named the hospital and everything right after she left the little 9/11 function. And it was like a news clip. It was literally like 5 seconds. And then they changed it, changed the subject, and then they tried to go back and clean it up. So that's one theory, that she died. The second theory that I've just seen recently, that she was supposedly arrested. So with her falling up into the van or whatever was because her ankles were, what do you call it?
Shackled.
Shackled, and she was handcuffed behind her back. So those have been the rumors on Hitlery. You know, I don't. Okay, go ahead. What else you heard?
let me start with the piece with her being detained.
Okay, yeah. Start with that because I didn't hear that till later.
Now, the only problem I have with that theory is that you would see them shackles because there's a little chain between them shackles on your feet.
I agree with you on that.
Now,
right?
Now it did look like her hands were cuffed behind her back. For real.
Now it did kind of look like that.
Because both of her hands were behind her back. Now,
and that's why somebody was trying to hold her up, supposedly and allegedly up under the armpit because she was handcuffed.
Now, if she is truly ill, and they were arresting her, that would send her off and make her pass out with the type of illness that she had.
Yeah, because clearly the lady has a lot of medical issues. There's no getting around it. All this damn passing out, shaking, coughing, and stuff. Yeah. She clearly has a lot of medical issues. Agreed.
Yeah. Now I've been on this thing too because to me it's funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. But that supposedly where she's been going to get treatment is right there in that same building where Chelsea lives.
Oh, really? Okay.
And what's been said is they bought the clinic because some people have been researching their clinic, and they found that they couldn't find it. They know the address and everything is right there in that building, but they don't have any information. They said, and they've been closed. And they won't release any information for historical purposes. Now, the next piece, is she trying to steal the election by using her illness?
Now, that's interesting because I've heard another theory that they are setting it up where Pres O would have to stay in office because if, she passed or she's not medically able to do it, this, that, and the third, then he would have to stay in office until they can reconcile that because the presidential election, basically what they're saying, it couldn't go on. So that's another theory that I heard.
All right. Now, this is some information I just come across about 40 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
This came, I ran across something, and it links back to Drudge Report.
Okay.
The debates are supposed to start sometime or another, but what they claiming is they go, and it's supposed to be 2 hours.
What's supposed to start?
The presidential debate.
Oh,
But what's supposed to happen is they gonna scale it down to an hour, and they gonna call it a forum where Trump will be on one stage and she'll be on another stage to keep from triggering her illness, because when she get under any type of stress, it just causes all kind of things to happen. Now, I also ran up on an article through the Drudge Report. She in North Carolina on the campaign trail.
I just can't with these people. It's like, how you gonna go from pneumonia to the point where you passing out? And it's just all bull crap. And not only that, family, when they run for president,
you got to be in top shape.
Exactly. And her nor Trump look like they in any type of physical condition to be in some top shape. So it just shows you that it's just bullshit. And they had to dig to the bottom of the barrel to come up with these two candidates. And that this is the last hurrah, because it doesn't seem like anybody with a grain of salt even wanted to be bothered with really stepping up and running.
Oh, there's some people that's been saying that wherever Hillary Clinton shows up at, she may have 100 to 150 people that show up, if that many. So ain't nobody been showing up to her appearances.
Well,
now check this out. They I saw a video on YouTube, right? Where she was on the campaign trail. I forget where it was. But the people in the audience, everybody gonna have their little cell phones up there, right?
Right.
And whoever this person, I forget who this person was. They know about camera work and all that stuff, right? And they were saying that the people, a lot of stuff on the TV shot was pasted in. You know how they can take a crowd and just put it in a scene. but hold it. Let's check. But check it out though. The dude was so thorough. He pointed out. He said, "Now look at this guy's cell phone. He pointed right at Hillary. Hillary walk across the cell phone, and you don't even see her."
So they've been copying and pasting crowds and
yeah. And look, and what is so the irony behind that whole thing is it been the 9/11 weekend, right? And they show this video. I said, well, hell, that's the same thing they did with the tower. There wasn't no plane hit them towers.
Yeah, absolutely. That was digital graphs and holograms all day long. That's what they say anyway, because it was definitely an explosion that brought it down. But you know what? Speaking of them towers, I do want to bring this up to the family. So we're going to have to freestyle it a little bit tonight since my notes don't want to cooperate. I remember most of it, and I have access to some of it through the Facebook post, so we'll get caught up next week. But, all right, back to the 9/11 stuff. So I'm minding my business as normally. So I watch CBS Sunday Morning when I get a chance with my little coffee because they drop a lot of code on what's going on as they interviewing folks. So they featured the new, I call it the Tower of Babel. They call it the Freedom Tower, what the hell ever, which supposedly replaced the Twin Towers, okay? So the lady is going on giving a little description of this tower. Guess, Wendell, how tall that tower is?
I don't know.
1,776 feet.
Damn, that's 170. That's 170 stories.
Right, but what happened in 1776?
There you go.
So I was like, you dirty bee. So it gets better. So the lady is describing the towers, saying that the people that lost their lives paid a huge price, and the people that build the towers, they are a part of being the beneficiaries as well as the American people. And so I'm sitting here listening, and she threw a couple of more trust terms around as she's trying to describe this tower. And I said, okay, lady, you sitting here talking in code. You told us how tall this Freedom Tower is, which equates to the year 1776. And now you're telling me that the American people are the beneficiaries. So that just kind of struck me as odd, that the type of language that they're using. Obviously, to me, they're talking in code. I always felt that when those towers went down in 9/11, of course, I feel that it's an inside job. But in addition to that, I felt it was some type of ritual on their part to try to manipulate the time frame, because we know that part of that time frame was for everything to be reversed up. So that supposed 9/11, that was like a high ritual. And so when they constructed the new tower, when I saw it, I immediately said, oh, so you're just going to construct the Tower of Babel. You think that knocking down those towers and putting up this new tower is going to change the frequency and keep you all in power. Not going to happen. But okay, whatever you think. So I just thought that was really odd that she used that type of language going into trust laws to describe what the tower is supposed to mean to the people. So very interesting stuff. So as usual, they're trying to be slick around the whole 9/11 thing when we all know that it was a inside job, and a lot of them got paid because of that tragedy. So, all righty.
She might have been saying it in those terms unknowingly, because they know it's over.
Yeah, and I kind of picked that up too, because when she said the 1776, and I said, well, yeah, we know that's when y'all did the takeover and screwed the people, the indigenous folks, out of their land, and then you start the process of enslaving everyone else through your fake-ass Constitution, your statutes and laws. And we know that they held everything in the trust, which, they are calling themselves the executor over, as well as they are benefiting off of it, not us. So for her to use that language as beneficiary, I sat up like, what did she say? It really, really threw me back.
Now, there's another little piece to that, too. She said the American people.
Yes.
Now, from me studying and understanding who the people are in reference to the Constitution, that wasn't talking about everybody else.
True that.
That was talking about the indigenous people.
Absolutely. So, just the way that she said it, I just automatically said, okay, they're talking in code here. So hopefully, I know most people didn't pick it up. So stuff is definitely about to shake off as we've been talking about it lately. And unfortunately, I can't get to my notes to give you. Go ahead on, brother.
Let me show you how the Lost Book of Enki ties to that.
Sure thing.
That we the people thing. At a certain point in this text, they started calling mankind the black-headed people. Now, who else could that be?
Okay, sorry, Brother Wendell.
All right. In the Lost Book of Enki, I think I wonder one of the first occurrence of it. They started calling mankind the black-headed people. Now, who else could that be?
Mm-hmm.
So later on,
Makes
down through history, they started saying the people.
Very interesting.
That's just something to put on your mind.
Very, 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 very interesting. Very interesting. Well, next week I'll have the rest of the financial notes for you. Unfortunately, Microsoft isn't cooperating with me for me to sync them up. But I do want to talk about something because it does go right into our notes. Right into our topic with the Lost Book of Enki. I found several articles, Brother Wendell, this week. One of them actually was off of CNN. And I urge the family, if you can, go check out this article on CNN, or you can also pick it up on Truth UnCompromised Facebook page, because they do great rendition drawings of these planets. So this article came out September 7th, and it's under the Space and Science. And it says 3 giant exoplanets found orbiting twin stars. Okay, so it says it's beginning to look a lot like Star Wars in our universe. Now, I perked up when I saw that first sentence. Ours just happen to have even more Tatooine-like planets, or there may be Tachyon-like planets attached to multiple stars. This year, we've already seen discoveries like a planet orbiting 2 stars. Then there was a planet orbiting 3 stars. And now researchers at the Carnegie Institution for Science have found 3 giant exoplanets orbiting twin stars. One star hosts 2 planets, and the second star hosts the third planet. As far as stars go, these 2 are rather close together to have such massive Jupiter-sized planets orbiting them. They are 360 astronomical units apart. a single AU represents the distance between the Earth and the Sun, or 92.96 million miles. I don't believe that calculation, but whatever. This binary star system and its planets represent the smallest separation twin binaries where both stars host planets that has been observed according to lead researcher Johanna Teskey. To put this in perspective, the shortest previous distance between the two stars in a binary system host planet was 1,000 AU, which is astronomical units. The planets and their stars were found 154 light years away in the constellation Libra. In other words, it would take more of a ship than the Millennium Falcon to make the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs, or in this case, 47, parseconds, I guess they're saying. There are also some unique quirks associated with this weird system, as Teskey refers to it. To find one with all of these properties is so rare that the odds total up to a few percent. Most exoplanet discoveries involve what researchers like to call super Earths. Now, pick that up, super Earths. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. Or planets that can be a few times the size of ours, but not as big as Neptune. These three planets are Jupiter size, which has only been found around a small percentage of stars. The two stars they orbit are metal poor rather than being heavy in iron or oxygen. These stars are mostly made up of hydrogen and helium. Most stars hosting giant exoplanets are metal rich. This system is incredibly rare, being one of only 7 ever found like it. This is important for planet formations because we think some minimum amount of solid material is needed in a protoplanetary disk where planets form around a star to make a giant planet quickly enough. Before the gas disperses and the giant planet cores can accrete enough gas to become giants, Teskey said. The twin stars are also more fraternal rather than identical, according to Teskey. They differ slightly in chemical composition, with one having more elements than that are less volatile and don't evaporate easily, such as silicon, iron, magnesium, and titanium. But the two stars are almost identical in surface gravity and temperatures, which allow the scientists to measure the difference in chemical composition. So I'm not going to read the rest of this. You can definitely go out there and read it, but what struck me the most is they started off by saying that these particular systems that they are finding are beginning to look a lot like Star Wars. Now, those of you that follow Brother Kel and I and Sis Saida when we were reviewing the movies, and we'll get back to that eventually, we reviewed Star Wars, and we talked specifically about how Star Wars is taken from the ancient text. And we specifically mentioned how they were taken from Terra papers. Definitely, I caught when I, of course, went back and rewatched it to review how they took some stuff straight from Dr. York's El Holy Tablets, and now that we're doing the Lost Book of Enki, I'm sure they took it from there too. Now, the thing of it is, George Lucas admitted that he did not make up Star Wars on his own. He said he took it from ancient texts. So Star Wars, if you look at the way they position a lot of those planets, specifically you see the planet where Luke is standing on it, and he looks out and he sees the two suns, the binary suns, the same, and sometimes he looks out there and you'll see three suns. The position of the suns that they're showing in Star Wars is now what we're starting to see on this particular planet. And Dr. York in the El Holy Tablets, he also sketched out Nibiru's solar system and the way those suns were lined up and the way the different planets were lined up in the tablets was exactly the way some of the footage out of Star Wars was lined up as well. So as part of this particular article, they also did a lot of great artist renditions of these solar systems. And it looks eerily similar to what they showed in Star Wars, what Dr. York mapped out in the El Holy Tablets, and the position of some of the planets and the binary suns and the three suns are what folks have been capturing on camera and video via YouTube. So I thought this was a very interesting article, and once again, to me, it seems like they are prepping the public for the new solar system coming into play. So I'll yield, Brother Wendell, and let you put something on it before we go into another scientific topic, because there was quite a few tonight.
Man, I tell you what, there are some people out here who've done an excellent job on researching this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
And the best two, I can tell you, Gil Broussard and,
yes, true.
and Marshall Masters. They've done an excellent job on that.
That's true.
Gil has done such a good job. I mean, he's linking his stuff to the Bible and all that. But where he went and got the deepest information was from China, because they had their documents.
From who? You said from China?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
He went to China and got that real deal, and it all adds up and matches up and everything.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but he's done an excellent job on that.
That makes a lot of sense.
The only thing I can see he's missing out of his whole thing is he's not dealing with all the different calendars that's out there.
Okay.
So but he's done an excellent job.
Okay.
Between him and Marshall Masters, and of course, he had to bring us Stitching, man.
Of course, because Stitching was the front runner in putting this information out there. So
but
absolutely.
the only problem he has with Stitching's work is he says that to him it's not hard data. Which is, everybody got their opinion.
Right. Everybody has their opinion. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. But that's off the chain. And speaking of the planets, that moon is doing something funny.
What's up with the moon now?
The moon is dancing. Okay. I found a site where you can go and look at when the full moon is supposed to come back out and all that. It gives you everything. They even give you the time of day that the moon is supposed to rise and what position it's supposed to be at a certain time of day.
Mm-hmm.
They've been wrong for the last 2 days.
That's no surprise to us, huh?
Yeah, it's been wrong. They've been wrong. The moon ain't been nowhere. But the other day, I caught it, 3 days ago, it was it was up there when the sun was out.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, and let's get into this topic, okay? And I'm going a lot of this off of memory. I have one great article that Brother Vic had posted on Facebook, and it ties so perfectly into what I wanted to go into tonight. I had some more articles for you, but we'll get to them next week. But I can do them by memory. Let's go into. I know we talked a little bit when I brought up about that whole Mandela effect and folks saying that we have shifted into another dimension. So I started digging a little deeper into it because I've always felt that we've made several jumps from a dimension perspective, just weird things that have happened to me personally. Plus, like we said, I watch the sky and stuff is different. When you're a sky watcher, you know where stuff is supposed to be and it's not there anymore. So I'm doing my little research. Why did I run across this information? And I'll have it for you next week. My notes are all out of whack tonight. Where all of a sudden, never a straight answer, NASA is telling us where we're located in the Milky Way. Well, how about it's not where we were taught in school where we were located? Now, I was taught that we were in the Milky Way galaxy on the arm of the Saturn ring. And anybody that looks up that Milky Way, you'll see how it's in a spiral, okay? And so those different spirals, they represent different parts of the constellation. And so in other words, like the Sagittarius constellation, the Orion constellation, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I was taught that we were in the Milky Way on the arm of the little Sagittarius constellation. So this one particular video that was talking about how we've jumped dimensions, how about now NASA is saying we on the damn opposite side. We're no longer on the Saturn arm. We're like on the Orion part. And if you remember back in the day where they said we were Sagittarius, and you map where NASA is saying we are now, it is literally on the opposite sides of each other. Here's the thing that blew my wig back, and I'm like, oh, I'm starting to get it. Where they are claiming we're located now is closer to the eye or the core of the Milky Way galaxy. So hence, if that core of the Milky Way galaxy, some say that's also where another huge, big central sun is located. So that would explain why a lot of us are seeing that like huge. I mean, you can't even comprehend how it just totally takes up the entire sky. That would kind of explain that if we're closer to that core, and it also would explain the different bursts of energies that folks are feeling. So now in addition to that, I remember Dr. Blair, Master Teacher Dr. Blair, saying that we were going to go through a dimension shift that was going to be so fast that it would be like, he would always use the terms that it's like going from kindergarten to graduate school. So as I'm looking at the position on where we used to be in the Milky Way and where they say we are now, that's quite a big jump. Okay, so I'm blown away by that. Then I hear another theory that what happened was that we are on the other side of like two parallel Earths. So in other words, we moved from the other Earth that was on the arm of the Sagittarius all the way over to the side, the other side, but it's a new Earth. So, but with that, some of the things are kind of slightly off. And so I'm like, well, could that maybe be when we say we're in 4D? Maybe this is what 4D is until we jump to a higher dimension. So those were some of the things that I ran across. And in addition to that, Brother Vic posted this article stating that the constellations themselves, the astrological signs, they've changed. I also heard this all the way back in 2013 that the constellation signs are changing because we really have 13. People that's really deep into the astrological side of this have been saying this for a long time. So sure enough, this article called Spirit Science is saying your astrological sign has shifted. NASA, I call them never a straight answer, updated the zodiac signs for the first time in 2,000 years. Okay, the stars are a database of information for overcoming struggles, to forming healthy relationships, to improving your character, and so much more. This knowledge has been used since ancient times in various cultures, and now it has been passed to you. The stars have shifted due to the wobbling effects of the earth caused by the sun and the moon over the last 2,000 to 3,000 years. The sky is different than what the ancient astrologers viewed. Now the constellations are off by about a month. There are 86% of people are living under the wrong horoscope. So they goes into presenting the new horoscope, and I'm not going to run through all of that, but I'm only going to run into a different one. So now instead of having 12, we have 13. And I've always heard that we had 13, which, 13 is supposed to be a number meaning hidden. So the new astrological sign is saying, I hope I'm probably not pronouncing this right, but it's Ophiuchus, Ophiuchus. And the dates of that is November 29th through December 17th. So all the rest of the signs pretty much have changed. So it says, actually, this is not a new revelation. Ancient Babylonian astrologers discovered these 13 constellations, yet omitted Ophiuchus, however you say it. So the sign will be divided equally into 12 due to 360-degree path of the sun. Well, this tells us one thing. Government conspiracies are not a new phenomenon. So it talks about this 13th sign. This particular constellation features a man grasping a snake, and it's more commonly known as Serpentaurus, the serpent holder. This sign has been adapted into many ancient cultures, but in essence is the same being. In Greek mythology, that particular zodiac sign is identified as being Asclepius. I don't know who that is. The healer and the son of Apollo. And he held the power to resurrect the dead. And in rage, Hades persuaded Zeus to assassinate him with the lightning bolt. And so in death, he was placed in the constellation. Get ready, Brother Wendell. I can't make this stuff up. I can't make it up. For the Sumerians, this figure was known as the god Enki. The Egyptians recognized this sign to be a man named Imhotep who lived in Egypt around the 27th century BCE. In the Bible, these attributes belong to the Hebrew man Joseph, son of the forefather Jacob. Imhotep is the Egyptian name for Jacob. So some of the traits of this particular zodiac is seeker of peace and harmony, poetic invention, seeks higher education and wisdom, intuitive, has secret enemies in family or close associations, high achiever, likes to wear vibrant colors and plaid designs, receive favor from authority, attracts good fortune for yourself and others. And so that's about all on that article. So you can either go to this site called spacescience.net. It's called the spiritscience.net, or you can check it out on Truth Uncompromised Facebook page. All right, Brother Wendell, I yield on that one. I know that was a mouthful.
First thing, you know the Hebrew calendar has 13 months, right?
Oh, man, no, I wasn't hip. I don't study the Hebrew calendar like that.
You got to get on it.
Wow.
Now, did you say that we are now somewhere on the arm of Sagittarius or something like that?
No, I said that's where we were. That's okay. What they told us back in the day when I was in school. Now, of course, I didn't check that on the regular, but now we're on the opposite side. We're closer to the core or the center of the Milky Way. Now they're saying we're Orion. We're between Orion and some other one.
Okay, now what? Think about this.
Mm-hmm.
If we're on the other side, we're still in alignment with Sagittarius and Orion. Now you got to think about that. All these ancient monuments and all this stuff on this planet is lined up with Orion, and Sagittarius is in Enki's domain.
Oh, dang. Yeah, because it's still in alignment with Sagittarius. It's literally just right across from each other.
Yeah, if I remember that correctly, it's no, it might be same. Let me look.
I know we discussed it, but I can't remember because when we went over the astrology, and I can't remember in the notes.
You know what? We're about to run into that, I think. Let me see how far down it is.
Okay, beautiful. I hope so. That's going to be straight beautiful.
Because there's a whole section on the zodiac in the notes.
Okay.
I got it. Let me do this.
Okay, that'll be beautiful. Okay, so that kind of blew me back because I had just run up on that new information. I had never heard of the Mandela effect, and it's basically saying that there are subtle changes going on where some people are noticing them, and we're saying, no, it didn't used to be like that way, just like the maps. I personally noticed where the maps have shifted. And then other people saying, no, it's always been the same. But what struck me when they were talking about that Mandela effect and when they went into, well, if you don't believe it, what about where we're located in the Milky Way? So before dude had even told us, I automatically said, well, we're on the Sagittarius arm. We're right at the end of the arm. And that's when he came and said, yeah, I know you were taught we were on the Sagittarius arm, but now NASA is saying we're here, which was directly across, although it's still lined up with the Sagittarius arm. We're like on the opposite side of that. And so that's where everybody is saying that we've definitely gone through some type of shift and or we literally shifted to another one of the planets that was prepared for us, because, you know, there's multiple copies of these different universes as well as the different planets. So I thought that was pretty interesting. We will definitely continue to watch that, and I'm going to try to put together a show once we get done with the Lost Book of Enki on that whole Mandela effect. So, okay, Brother Wendell, with that, I yield, because that's about all the notes I could remember off the top of my head.
I got another piece of news that I couldn't. They took down the original article.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is Samsung is getting ready to recall the Galaxy Note 7 smartphones, and they said
why? Because that battery exploding.
Yeah, it's catching on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But in the original article, what was important about that whole piece was that the shipping company was filing for bankruptcy, and they wanted to get their product off the containers.
Wow. And my notes came back up. I had an article for you too about that shipping, because let me see, there it is. It is saying that and this is off of Before It's News. This came out on Tuesday. Ocean shipping is in trouble, and it's not just Hanjin. The destruction is not the result of Donald Trump's trade policies. Come on, Before It's News. He is not in a position to implement them yet, but his demands that we close the trade deficit will make this worse. The shipping business is in crisis. The industry leader is not exempt. Excuse me, family, this damn Before It's News and all these 79 pop-up screens. Hanjin, and that's Hanjin, is not alone. Of the biggest 12 shipping companies that have published results for the past quarter, 11 have announced huge losses. Several weaker outfits are teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. In Japan, 3 firms, Mitsu, OSK Lines, NYK Lines, and Kawasaki Kaisan Kasha, look vulnerable. Activist investors are now pressuring for them to merge to avoid the same fate as the South Korean line. Even the strongest are suffering. France's CMA CGM, the world's 3rd largest carrier, announced a big first half loss on September 2nd. Maersk Line, the industry leader and the largest firm with AP Moller Maersk, a family-controlled Danish conglomerate, will be in the red this year, having lost $107 million in 6 months to June. The industry could lose as much as $10 billion this year on revenues of $170 billion, reckons Drury, a consultant. 2 powerful forces have rocked the industry. The first is the ebbing of the world trade since the financial crisis. 2/3 of global seaborne trade by value is carried in containers. But in 2015, for the first time since they were invented in the 1950s, apart from the 2009 recession, global GDP grew faster than worldwide box traffic. Insipid economic growth and moribund trade liberalism play their part. So too do shifts in manufacturing. Multinational firms are increasingly building factories in local markets. General Electric, for example, now make engine parts where they are needed rather than shipping them from America. The second factor is the surge in the size of the global container fleet following a ship ordering binge that began around 2011. Overcapacity has crushed freight rates. Sending a container from Shanghai to Europe now costs half of what it did in 2014, according to figures from the Chinese City Shipping Exchange. Okay, so let me get down to this, see if we got any more meat in here. So I'm not going to go into any more of this because it's kind of getting more into the cost. So, again, we told y'all last year, before they even went public, that shipping was in trouble. We told you all that stuff was not being shipped to this nation. And we told you because the dollar is no longer the acceptable value of currency. We knew it was in trouble before now the financial mainstream media is starting to say that, because all you have to do is look at the shipping index called the Baltic Dry Index, which gives you indicators of the raw good materials shipping. And it had dipped so low, it was lower than when the 2008 financial crash happened. Okay, so now they have no choice but to admit shipping is in trouble because now these shipping companies are going bankrupt. And in addition to that, over the early this year, Brother Wendell has closely been watching the ships come in and out of the ports in the U.S., and it ain't happening. So this isn't about all that crap they're talking about, GDP and manufacturing, as more as it is about a shift in the currency being changed as the world moves away from the dollar and are going to another currency, specifically the Chinese yuan. So I'll yield, Brother Wendell, in case you want to put something on that.
Yeah, and actually I remember the name of that company being Hanjin too. Another problem they was having is being able to get refueled so they can get them containers out from over here. So there's stuff going on for real out here, folks. You better quit playing.
Right. You really better quit playing. Make sure that you're not depending on them for any, detrimental. I call them staples, like Grandma and them used to say. So any medicine you take, make sure you stock up on that, and have staple foods on hand that won't spoil or whatever, because it's definitely shaken down. And unfortunately, in this nation, we had gotten to the point where we don't really make a damn thing here no more. We were depending more on imports than we were exporting. So, just be aware, now mainstream media is telling you what we've been telling you since last year, that shipping, although they're not coming out to say it's come to a halt, we know it has pretty much come to a halt. Now they're telling you these companies are going bankrupt. Okay. So one more story, and then we're going to move into the Lost Book of Enki. Speaking of the dollar, just before I jumped on the air, there was an article in RT News saying Russia and Iran Bank may ditch the U.S. dollar. So it's article, and I'm not going to read it for time's sake, but it's basically saying that they are ready to ditch the dollar because At the moment, all banking operations between Russia and Iran are carried out in dollars or euro. It is very inconvenient because all these operations are controlled either by the EU or U.S. central banks. Okay, so they are hooking up Russia and Iran. Now, pay attention. Those are two nations rich with oil, and specifically Iran more than Russia, if I'm not mistaken. So they are already telling you that the dollar is out. Folks are behind the scenes making their little deals to either trade using their own currencies or they're trading using the yuan. So that's just another indication, family, that the dollar is declining and dead as we speak on it. So we are going to can you hear me, Brother Wendell?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I saw it just go in and out. I may have to switch. So basically, and sorry about all the background noise. It's just one of those nights, family. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Lost Book of Enki. I'll have another update for you all with the notes we weren't able to get in because Microsoft wanted to act crazy tonight. So where we left off last week was very, very excited because we talked about several things. We actually talked about how the land was split up, how it was divided, rather, into nations. We call them nations by the family. So Anu did that, split it up among his children. And then I was excited because that also included talking about the Anunnaki being over here in South and North America. So I was extremely excited about us going into that last week. And then in addition to that, we also broke down, and I had got out of my place in my notes, Brother Wendell, when we went over the different names that the Anunnaki was known for. And I'm going to try to swing back up. So for example, Murdoch is known as the Egyptian god Ra. Ningashita is known as Thought. Enki, this one threw me back. I never would have guessed this about Enki. Enki is known as Ptah. Inanna is known as Asta or Isis in Greek.
Ishtar.
Ishtar.
Yeah, Ishtar, Isis.
And then Asar, and we knew, well, most of us knew this. Asar is known as Osiris. Mm-hmm. And then his face is carved on the Giza Sphinx. And so we're going to have to talk about that. I don't know if we'll get into that tonight because something happened where that was changed. But also something else that kind of blew my wig back, and I'm trying to find it. Remember, Brother Wendell, it also talked about who was the particular Anunnaki that is linked to the Islam religion.
Nanar.
Okay, Nanar.
Nanar/Nano/Sin.
Got you. Okay. So that blew my wig back too. So that's what we got into, just the high level of where we left off last week. So with that said, I'll turn it over to you, Brother Wendell.
Yeah, I did. Ningashita has several names too, or titles, whatever you want to call them. Thoth, Hermes, Trismegistus, which means thrice greatest or thrice born, Quetzalcoatl, Tahuti, Kukulkan, and Mercury.
I didn't know that about that Mercury. That's very interesting.
And Negasita was the one supposedly who wrote the Emerald Tablet.
Yes, we did talk about that. We did talk. So my other question that I had for you, and I can't find it in my notes, when we talked about how the different sections of land was divided up across the planet, and who was over South America, or it was assigned South America and North America?
Well, they didn't originally include that when they were setting up the original civilizations. That was all done on that side.
Okay, but didn't somebody, when Anu and Antu, Mama and Papa, came back because they had to settle a dispute, and they had built those mansions for them, and then they built the mansions over in Africa and quote what they call in the Middle East now, still Africa, whatever, and then they built the mansions over here in South America. Anu had wound up giving that to his granddaughter, if I'm not mistaken, either his granddaughter or great granddaughter.
Inanna, yeah, his granddaughter.
Inanna, okay, but I could have sworn that he also gave somebody that territory, because
no. What he did is he left. After he left, then they went back to the other side to start, establishing the different civilizations. And the Nerda was told to stay over there and watch that area. In other words, watch the gold. Remember,
okay, that's right. In Nerda, yeah, because he was standing. He had to stand in that river.
There was the angel. See, there was the angel standing in the lake that was described in
the Lost Book of Enoch.
Enoch, yeah.
Enoch. Okay, that's right. So he was standing there guarding, basically the gold and the other metals. Okay. That makes sense. And that's the last little part, and then we're going to get into tonight's stuff when Brother Wendell broke down the calculations of where we are today, and he linked back the Shars, which is how the Anunnaki counted time, to the Hebrew calendar. And if you can break down the Hebrew calendar, you know where we are today. Okay, and so he basically linked everything as jumping off in 2017.
Yep.
So I just found that just straight fascinating, because once he did all these calculations, he came up with the Hebrew calendar the Hebrew time 5777, which that represents the year 2017.
Which is that special number that's found in the Bible code.
Yes. Those of you that were with us on the show that we did on the Bible code, if not, you can definitely go to YouTube. I think we wind up doing 2 shows on that. So very, 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 very interesting. All righty. Okay, Brother Wendell, I'll turn it over to you.
I guess I'll start right before we got into the name and rank of the 12, and I'll just skip over that because we already did that.
Yes.
They like I said, they returned back to the other side, to the end, and get ready to start establishing the different civilizations. So they started with the first one. They called it the first region, which was Mesopotamia. And they were building temples and all that stuff for the leaders. And I got to just start out with this excerpt right here, the continuation of building temples for the Anunnaki leaders.
Anunnaki leaders, okay.
When after Eridu and the Nibruki and their temple abodes were completed, in Lagash, the Gersu precinct for the Nerda was built. His black skybird there was kept. In Ninu, House of 50, was the temple abode for the Nerda, and Bao, his spouse, called. The supreme hunter and supreme smiter weapon, a gift of Anu, the Ininu protected. But Sapar, before the deluge had been on top of the mud soil, Utu, a new Sapar established. And the Ibaba, the shining house, and a bow for Utu and his spouse, Aya, was raised. From there, Utu, for mankind, laws of justice promulgated. Where because of silt mud, the old plans could not be followed, the new sites were chosen. Adab, a site from Shurabak, not distant, for Ninasog, as a new center was made. The house of succor and healing knowledge was her temple abode, their name. The means of how the earthlings were fashioned, Ninasog and his holy shrine kept. For Nanar, a city with straight streets, canals, and wharves were provided. Urim was his name. House of the throne seed was his temple abode called. The moon's beams to the land it reflected. That's called today. Ishkur to the mainlands of the north returned. The house of seven storms, his abode was called. That was in Lebanon. Inanna in Unuki resided, in the abode by Anu he bequeathed to her she dwelt, which is in Uruk, the biblical Iraq. Marduk and Nabu and Eridu dwelt in the Eden their own abodes did not have. Now, if you pay attention to what they were holding on to in their own little temples, explains a lot why the United States went over there and raided it, because they were looking for that stuff. But the front was, yeah. See, they hit the museums and all that stuff. They've been looking for them artifacts because they're very important.
Yep, makes sense.
All right. The earthlings were taught handiworks and crafts by the Anunnaki, and shortly fields were irrigated. Boats sailed on the river and canal. Sheepfolds and granaries were overthrown, and prosperity filled the land. This was in the first region, which is Sumer, which was then called Ki-Engi. That's Ki-hyphen-E-N-G-I.
So Enki spelled backwards.
Really? Land of the lofty watchers. Then it was decided that the black-headed people would possess their own would possess their own city. That city was called Kashi, or Kish, which is what is named today. Scepter City, where the kingship of mankind began. Now they say man, I just put that in parentheses, mankind.
Yep.
That's what they talking about. In that city, in consecrated soil, Anu and Enlil implanted the heavenly bright object. Hold on just a minute.
Oh, yeah, wait, because you're throwing a lot in that sentence. Hold on.
I had to stop right there. All right, the scepter is a secret divine device enshrined in the site of kingship. An ornamented staff carried by rulers on ceremonial occasions as a symbol of sovereignty. Now, this is my question. Did Anu secretly show up for this event? Because remember, he just came to Earth and left for the last time.
Right. Him and Mama Antu.
Yeah, when they went to Peru in South America. Or is this the origin of my father and I one? That's all I need.
Say that again. Okay, I'm confused.
All right. The question was, did Anu secretly show back up for that event? Because remember, he had come to Earth for the last time when him and his wife, Antu, had just left before this went down. Now, is he showing up in the spirit of what? Now that led to the next question. Is this the origin of my father and I are one?
Are one. Got you. So, okay, I get that concept. because he could have showed back up personally, or he could have did some holograph stuff during the ceremony. But this land that the black-headed people possess, let's get up in that. Are they talking about Kush?
No, they're talking about right there in Mesopotamia, Sumer.
Okay.
The first region is where the actual first civilization was set up. Nobody wants to give credit to that, though. But that's the first civilization.
Okay, but now I don't want to put words up in the book's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and it does say this, this was the first region, Sumer, which was called Ki-Enki, which is really Enki spelled backwards, y'all. Land of the lofty watchers. Then it was decided that the black-headed people, and then they had the nerve to put it in quote, would possess their own city. That city was called Kish, scepter city, where the kingship of man, and then you put kind, began.
Mm-hmm.
In that city, in consecrated soil, Anu and Enlil implanted the heavenly bright object. That's interesting. That's why they've been over there clowning. Don't y'all remember? Damn it, that movie, Prince of Persia. That's what it is. Prince of Persia. That's the device he was looking for over in that area.
Mm-hmm.
It was a crystal scepter device. And whoever had this device controlled the world.
Yeah.
That movie sucked, y'all, but I only watched it to see how they was fighting over that device. So that kind of reminds me of this scepter that they're describing. Very interesting.
Yeah, but the key to that, it was a symbol of sovereignty.
Yeah. So if think about that, that's deep though, because if I got a hold of that, then I can control mankind's sovereignty, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting.
Now, Kish is what the name of that city is today. But that could be, Kush could be a derivative of that spelling.
Of Kish, yeah. That makes sense. Them as they spread out or whatever, the black-headed people.
Because see, this is a city and not a whole, country, piece.
Right. It's just a city. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Ninurta, Enlil's son, appointed the first king and mighty man was the royal title in order to make it a center for civilized mankind. Ninurta went to Eridu to get the meat tablets that hold the divine formulas for kingship from Enki. He entered Eridu, properly dressed, and asked for the meat of kingship, and Enki granted him 50. Were those priestly clothes that he was putting on to go?
Absolutely. That's what it sounds like to me, right?
Yeah. All right. Afterwards, the black-headed people were taught calculating numbers, writing by Nasaba, beer making by Ninkashi, kiln work and smithing by Ninurta. In Kishi, the first wheeled wagons harnessed to male asses were fastened. Laws of justice and righteousness were promoted. The people wrote hymns of praise to Ninurta about his heroic deeds and victories, about his blackbird, his aerial vehicle, about how he subdued bison in the faraway lands, and about his invention of mixing white metal, tin, with copper. That's to making a bronze. Let's stop right there for a minute.
Yeah, because they kind of threw a lot up in there. Go ahead.
The main thing is this. Folks, the technology we got is old. They praising this man for his Blackbird, his aerial vehicle, when they teaching them how to hook up a donkey to a wagon.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up that point, because I'm like, wait a minute now, bro. Y'all was messing with laser technology.
Yeah, all this shit. And y'all just
but you gonna give me a donkey with a wheel? Are you serious?
Oh, but hold on. We got to remember whose son that is. That's Enlil's son.
Yeah, that's about right, because, Enlil felt that knowledge should be passed down anyway.
Right. He wanted mankind dead.
Yeah, that's true. He did. Wow. Okay, we get into the constellation of Sagittarius, but go ahead on. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. I did have something else. Well, you taught me something new. I did not know if you mix tin and copper, you got bronze. So
yeah.
You taught me something there, and the fact that they taught them laws of justice and righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
So they were establishing how things should operate from a lawful perspective, even back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Remember, see, they're actually following Anu's instruction, because he told them to teach them and leave. He told them to teach them that stuff.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. Another thing that was in the news this week, that they're talking about the Indians out in I can't remember which state it is, but the U.S. Corp is trying to build on their land, and so they've been fighting them and they've been protesting, so they sick dogs on them. And so then articles came out saying that the U.S. Corp was trying to buy them off to get them off that reservation, and they told them no, because we have treaties with you. So long story short, anyway, so we got in this discussion on Facebook about treaties, and I pretty much said, look, ain't nobody trying to hear that crap that they're talking about them treaties, because all of the treaties were signed invalidly. The melanated people, we all as a whole did not agree with those treaties. They were done behind our back by the dirty Moors. That's number one. Then number two, when you talk about the so-called Indians on the reservation, we know that they're not even the rightful owners of that land. So therefore, the treaty that they claim they have with the U.S. Corp is invalid anyway. So it just kind of made me think back to what we had discussed last week, who the rightful owners of the land is per Anu. He clearly told the Anunnaki, you all are to teach them and leave.
If you want to inherit the earth, because he broke that down. He said, if man, not the Anunnaki, and not mankind, is to inherit this earth, you got to teach them to get out of here.
Exactly. And so we've already established that that's the black-headed people. So I'm just saying, this whole fight over who owns what, no matter what they try to say, it always goes back to the black-head / nappy-headed people. So, okay, my bad. Okay, go ahead on. The next sentence on this constellation.
Yeah. It was Ninurta's time, as he was honored with the constellation of the Archer, which is Sagittarius. Meanwhile, Inanna is awaiting her lordship, as she observes how Ninurta went to Enki to get the meed of kingship. So she is demanding of the leaders her own domain in the third region. They tell her that her time will come after the second region is established. So she had the third region.
Okay.
She is anxious and devised a plan to get the meat from Enki. Oh, we got a nice little excerpt right here. Inanna executes her scheme and sucker punch Enki. Make it rain. LOL.
Oh, boy.
Man, I laughed so hard. I read this thing. All right. Inanna, in her heart, a plan devised to obtain the meat from Enki. She schemed. Her chambermaid, Neshubur, to Eridu, she dispatched a visit by Inanna to announce. On this hearing, Enki to Isimu, his house master, quickly instructions gave. The maiden, all alone, to my city Eridu, her step is directing. When all alone she will arrive, my inner chambers let her enter. Pour for her cold water to freshen her heart. Barley cakes with butter give her. Sweet wine prepare. The beer vessels to the rim fill up.
And don't be trying to get me tipsy, but whatever.
Hold on, check this out. When Inanna alone, the abode of Enki, entered, Isimu, Enki's commands followed. Then when Enki, Inanna greeted, by Inanna's beauty he was overwhelmed. With jewelry was Inanna bedecked. By her thin dress, her body she revealed. When she bent down, her vulva by Enki was thoroughly admired.
So she was bending over lap dancing.
Hold on. Check this out now. Hold on.
I know what lap dance when
let's get the rest of this. From the wine cup, sweet wine they drank, for beer drinking, a competition they had. Show me the meads, Inanna to Enki playfully said. Let me the mead in my hand hold. 7 times in the course of the competition, Enki to Inanna meads to hold gave. The divine formulas for lordship and kingship, for priesthood and scribeship, for love dressing and for warring, meads to Inanna, Enki to hold gave. For music and singing, woodworking, metals and precious stones. 94 meads that for civilized kingdoms are needed, Enki to Inanna gave. Holding her prizes tightly, Inanna from the slumbering Enki slipped away. And she comes out, give him a lap dance and had a fish drinking competition, drank him under the table, and started playing with the meat. And he messed around and put them in her hand, and she got away with 94 of them.
Wow. And as I'm looking at her name and not trying to be vulgar, but that's where that term Punana came from.
Punana.
Whoa.
Now look how their spirit has grown. You got Inannas all over the place. They don't even know who they are.
Yeah, because we've been talking about her little name throughout this book, but then when you get to this part, her giving folks lap dances, getting drunk, going in the man's pockets, taking what she needs. I said, dang, that's where that tone, Il Nana or Poo Nana, comes from.
Whoa. Now she didn't take it away from her. She did just like the strippers do. They come and flash in front of you, give you a lap dance, and you just give it to her.
And I mean,
I laughed so hard when I first read that thing.
And being in the land of ATL, that's one of the stripper heavens. They straight up pros at it. Whoa. Well, they got it from their ancestors, so that's a damn shame.
Yeah. Oh, my. All right. To her boat of heaven, she rushed out to soar away her pilot she instructed. When Enki from his slumber by Isimu was awakened, get hold of Inanna to Isimu, he said. When from Isimu that Inanna had already in her boat of heaven departed, Enki heard. To chase Inanna in Enki's skyship, Isimu, he instructed. All the means you must retrieve, to him he said. At the approach of UnCONPromeyezed, Isimu, Inanna's boat of heaven, intercepted. To return to Eridu, and the wrath of Enki face he made her. But when Inanna back to Eridu was brought, the means with her no more were. To her chambermaid, Neshubur, she gave them. To the house of Anu in UnCONPromeyezed, Neshubur took them. In the name of my power, in the name of my father Anu, I command you the means to return. So that Enki angrily to Inanna say, in his abode captive he held her. When of this Enlil heard, to Eridu to face his brother he came. By right, the means have I obtained. Enki himself in my hands placed them. So the Anunnaki to live say. The truth of that,
boy.
the truth of that, Enki meekly admitted. Hold it. What that say right there?
When
did it say Enki meekly admitted that?
Yeah, it does say meekly.
Don't the book say the meek shall inherit the earth? Then Anu said, man, not mankind, not Anunnaki. Okay. You gotta look for little key words right there all the time. All right. When the time turn of Kishi shall be completed, to UnCONPromeyezed kingship shall pass, so that Enlil declared. When Marduk heard that Inanna was next in line to have her domain established, he was highly upset and demanded of Enki, his father, his own sacred city in the Eden. When Enlil ignored his demand, Marduk took matters into his own hands and selected a place to establish his own sacred city, which was the same area that had been considered for the place of Anu's arrival. Nabu, Marduk's son, Samadil Gigi, and their offspring, the Nephilim, from their land to establish a place for skyships, which means a spaceport.
Mm-hmm.
When they all gathered at the place, they had no access to the stone needed to build. Marduk teaches them how to kiln bricks to serve as stone.
Oh, wow.
And they began building a tower to the heavens. Is this the origin of the Tower of Babel?
Tower of Babel.
Yeah. All right. Enlil unsuccessfully tried to talk Marduk and Nabu out of building the tower. Enlil, his sons, and grandchildren gathered to discuss what to do about Marduk, as Enlil told them Marduk was building an unpermitted gateway to heaven. Now, is this the origin of building permits?
That makes sense. And then also, he taught them how to make bricks, right? Isn't that the first? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're entrusting it to the earthlings. Enlil added that if they allow it, then mankind will be able to do anything. Everybody agreed that the evil plan must be stopped. That night, the Enlilites bombed the tower from their skyships, destroying the tower and their encampment. Enlil decided to shatter their unity and confuse their languages.
Man, that is the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, until this point, they all had spoken one language.
Mm-hmm.
This happened 310 years after the count of Earth years began, which is 3450 BC. Now, we just have to ask the question, is this the origin of the story of the Tower of Babel?
It sure sounds like it.
Yeah. Enlil confused their languages in each region in every land, and thereafter gave them all a different form of writing.
There it goes.
That's a key right there.
So, let me ask you this. Let me start with, why didn't they want them to build this tower? Was there any type of metaphysical perspective, or it was just a power thing?
Wait a minute. Listen. Enlil added that if they allow them to build that tower, then mankind will be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm. It was a power thing then.
See, they were actually, what they were actually doing is building their own little gateway to heaven. In other words, another portal. See, every time they built something, they was opening up portals when they built it.
That's interesting that you say that, because it is said that even the state that we're in now, which is why, didn't I just talk about the Tower of Babel with that damn Freedom Tower? And I promise you, family, I did not read ahead. I didn't have time to read ahead to show you how things work out. But it is said that the way that we're building these skyscrapers now, we never was supposed to build that high. And now I never thought of it from the perspective until you just mentioned it, Brother Wendell, that it's dipping and dabbing into opening new portals. The other perspective that I heard is that Mama Earth has to stay in balance. So meaning if you have, let's take New York City, for example, which is all built on islands, plural, pretty much. That's too much weight with all of that concrete and steel concentrated in one area. So someone told me, and this was just off the top of their head, that they felt that that's why also that the planet experiences a lot of sinkholes in a lot of places, because we were never supposed to be building that high, because she was supposed to stay in balance. So that was also another take that I heard on that, but I never thought about that opening up other portals. So that's interesting also.
Yeah. All right. Scepter City, Kashi or Kish, had 23 kings over a period of 408 years. That means from about down to 3352 BCE. And one of those kings, Etana, and I have a link where you can go and read about Etana, was taken for a heavenly journey. At the right time, Enlil decreed the transfer of kingship to UnCONPromeyezed, Inanna's domain and region. The heavenly bright object was transferred to its soil. When this was announced to the people, they exalted Inanna and sang to her a hymn. That little hymn, later of me's queen, brightly resplendent, righteous and radiant clothes of heaven and earth beloved, by the love of Anu consecrated, greater adorations wearing. 7 times the meed she obtained. In her hand she them is holding. For the tiara of kingship they are appropriate, for high priesthood suitable. Lady of great meeds, of them she is the guardian. The transfer of kingship happened 490 years into the calendar of earth years, and kingship was transferred from the first region to UnCONPromeyezed, which is 3270 BC. The temple of old, called Eanna, was occupied by a son of Utu, who was high priest and first king of UnCONPromeyezed. Mesquiel was his name. I got a link where you can go and read up on him. Marduk goes to the land of the two Narrows, which is Nile Valley, expecting to be the master of the second region once established. Marduk and Nick, go ahead and ask before I get into this.
Okay, so it's interesting that this heavenly bright object, every time someone gets kingship, that particular object, it says, is transferred to their soil. So I don't know if that meant it was buried in the soil or it was just had to be in that soil. So in other words, to say this is where the seat of power is, and therefore the people are, and they also represent sovereignty.
Right. What they were doing with that was they probably did plant it in the soil as a ceremony to establish that as a sovereign region. Because remember, they built it for original civilization, so they got to transfer from one to the other in order to establish sovereignty for that region.
Interesting. And the fact that, once again, this shows that women were also rulers and also high priests. And for us to be in 2016 and still be having these silly-ass conversations about women ruling, it's really an insult to our intelligence, because we know as far back as the Egyptian days that women were rulers, and now we're going back even further than that, showing that. So that's what I found interesting about that also.
Yeah. All right. Now we got Marduk and Ningashita causing chaos. You see Marduk starting to crank up because he's pissed. He wants his own thing.
As usual.
He's been pissed throughout the whole thing because of what's been going on with Daddy. he ain't taking that shit. He said, look here, he better start causing some problems. So
right.
Marduk and Ningishita causing chaos. When Marduk, after a long absence to the land of the two Narrows, returned, Ningishita as its master he there found. Its lofty lord Ningishita was. With the aid of offspring of Anunnaki, who earthlings espoused, did Ningishita the lands oversee. What Marduk had once planned and instructed by Ningishita was overturned. What is this that happened? Marduk of Ningishita to know demanded of the destruction of hidden things. Marduk Ningishita accused of making Haran to a desert place depart, a place that has no water, a boundless place where sexual pleasures are not enjoyed. The two brothers an uproar made. Upon quarreling bitterly, they embarked. Pay heed, I am here in my proper place, Marduk to Ningishita said. You've been my place taker. From now on, only a deputy of mine you can be.
There we go.
But if to rebellion you are inclined, to another land go away you must. For 350 earth years did the brothers in the land of the two Narrows quarrel. For 350 years was the land in chaos between the brothers. It was filled. Then Enki their father to Ningishita said, for the sake of peace, to other lands depart. To go to a land beyond the oceans, Ningishita chose. With a band of followers, thereto he went. Ningishita goes to the Americas.
Okay.
Remember now, I went and found all the different lands of Ningishita. Hermes, Quetzalcoatl, Tahuti, Kukulkan, and Mercury. And the two that they worship down there or venerate, I just say it like that, venerate down in South America and Mexico, is Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan.
Makes sense.
Now, 650 Earth years was at that time to count. That was in 3110 BC. But in the new domain where Ningishita, the winged serpent, they also call him that, the winged serpent or the plume serpent.
Okay, so now I know when I see that winged serpent who that represents.
Yeah. A new count of its own began. Question: is this beginning of what we know
the Mayan calendar / Olmec
calendar?
Wow.
Now we did a little math right there. 5777 minus 3110, 2667. 2667 minus 650
equals 2017. Very interesting.
And then I just cross-checked the numbers right there to make sure that was right.
Wow. So even with the Mayan calendar calculation, basically stuff is jumping off in 2017. But didn't the Mayan calendar allegedly stop in 2012?
Well, see, that period is over. But see, the count of years matches up.
Yes, it does. It does. But where I'm going with that is, bear with a sister here now. Help me here. Where I'm going with that is because what the prophecy states with that whole Mayan calendar situation is the reason that the Mayans stopped in 2012. Many people was thinking that it was a disaster that was going to jump off this, that, and the third. But the master teachers like Dr. Blair, Dr. Phil Valentine, and Bobby Hemmett said it was because we were moving into another age.
Right.
And the ages are also calculated by where we are in the constellations.
Right.
And 2012 represented where our particular galaxy was lining up with other galaxies, and particularly we were lining up with a central sun. So that also kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Was that the start? And Dr. Blair would say, by the way, that we would be moving deeper into the Milky Way galaxy. So does that also mean that 2012 was the start where we started jumping deeper into the Milky Way galaxy. So whether you want to say we jumped dimensions, or whether you want to say that we jumped to a new restored Earth is another thing. But nonetheless, that's very, very interesting.
It also ties to what the 2012 and 2016. That's 4 years, right?
Yep.
May mark the end of an era of precedence.
Yes. Absolutely.
What does that 4 represent? Don't that represent double covenant?
Yes, it does.
And I'll leave the rest up to your imagination.
Yes, it does. Which is the reason why Prez O had to be the president during this time.
And he's the 44th president.
And he's the 44th president. That is the main reason he had to be the president from a spiritual perspective, because some say that the cabal, it meant that they was trying to use a melanated man, or some say a mulatto man, to manipulate and to trick the melanated people back in slavery, but it essentially backfired on them because it didn't matter. It was the fact that it really spiritually represented the return of things being turned back over to the melanated people. So there was a reason that he became president during this time, because he wasn't the first quote quote melanated president. So very, very interesting. Very, very. And technically his term would not be over by their calendar standards until 2017, right?
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Okay.
I put 3 different links down there where you can go and research a little bit on the
Winged serpent, which is Ningashita.
Yeah. All right, we got another excerpt right here. Marduk has his way. In the land of the 2 Narrows, the second region under Marduk's lordship was established. In the annals of the first region, you got to pay close attention to this now.
Mm-hmm.
In the annals of the first region, which is Sumer, Magon, which is ancient Egypt, land of the Cascading River, it was called. Okay. But by the second region's people, when the languages were confounded, Hemta, Hem-Ta, the Egyptian name of ancient Egypt.
Oh.
The dark brown land, it was henceforth called. So in the first region, they put it in their historical records that they called that Hemta, which is the Egyptian name of ancient Egypt. Now, they put it in their records in the first region, which is Sumer. All right?
Got you.
Neteru. I know you heard that. All you hotels, you done heard that. I know you done heard it.
I didn't want to blow the thunder. I'm looking at it. Neteru.
Neteru, guardian watchers, the Anunnaki, were there in the new language called.
Okay, so stop right there, because I don't want to put words up in the book's mouth. I want to make sure a sister got this properly. So, up to that point when the Tower of Babel happened, can it be assumed they were speaking cuneiform?
Well, we don't know if the language was actually called cuneiform. See, let me give you an example.
Okay.
Over here in America, we said we speak English.
Bastardized, but yeah, whatever. Yeah.
But if it's English, why are we not English? Why is that language based? It's not English. If you can go on your computer and find this. If you try to insert a symbol in Word, and you go to that menu, when those letters come up that look like the letters that we've known all our life, that's basic Latin.
Yes, I get what you're saying. So English, that's why I said it's a bastardized language, is a much more watered down Latin version of Latin, and probably a couple of other things.
Yeah.
Also.
And you got, and to boot, you got different countries over on the continent of Africa that speak Bantu. You know what I'm saying? But they're not.
True.
You see what I'm saying? But is the written language Bantu? We don't know.
So let's not say it wasn't cuneiform, because let's say cuneiform was just the purest language that the Anunnaki spoke amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
So when they came here and mankind got up in the mix, let's say they were speaking a derivative of that. They taught them a derivative of that. Okay,
right.
so but the bottom line was everybody was speaking the same thing, right? Then the Tower of Babel situation came into play. Mm-hmm. And then was it Enlil that dispersed everybody and changed up the languages?
Mm-hmm.
And so then now we are knowing where Neteru is coming into play, which is probably Metanetta.
Well, that's what they call the gods in ancient Egypt. They call them the Neteru.
Mm-hmm.
But see, this book is telling you who the Neteru is, the Anunnaki.
Yes, I get that. And I guess the only reason I'm going with that is because it is saying that the Metanetta, and now this makes sense because Neteru is an Anunnaki, the Metanetta language has metaphysics properties to it.
Right.
So meaning the way it is written and also the way it is spoken, mm-hmm. you can invoke certain things.
Right.
And so to find out that wasn't even the first one, the cuneiform, which we're assuming that that's the first one, was probably much, much more powerful.
Yeah.
So that's where I was really going with that.
Yeah.
Very
interesting. That's a good analysis. Yeah. All right. Neteru, guardian watchers, the Anunnaki were there in the new language called. Marduk as Ra, the bright one, was worshipped. Enki as Ptah, the developer, was venerated. And Ningishita as Tahuti, the divine measurer, was recalled. Mm-hmm. To erase his memory, Ra, on the stone line, which is the great sphinx, his image with that of his son Asar/Osiris replaced. Now you see what's going to happen.
So stop right there. Why did he replace it again? Why did he replace it with Asar or Osiris's face? Now that blows my wig back. Now we know.
Now see, it happened only once. See, he found out that Ningishita's face was on what really pissed him off. So when he go back down there and start causing problems, and Ningishita said, well, hell, I just go to the Americas. I go over there by myself, take my folk with me.
Right, okay.
He puts his son's face on it, who is Osiris. See, it only happened once. It only happened once.
Okay, so he switched up the face.
Yeah, he changed the face.
Which is Osiris's face on the Sphinx that we know today.
Right.
But Ningishita's face was on there originally.
Originally, it was Ningishita's face on there.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Osiris's face. So why are they sitting up claiming they don't know whose face is up on that Sphinx?
I told you, because they'll have to change all the little shit they doing, because that's why they don't mess with this book right here.
Because that's not a far stretch for that to be Osiris's face.
Right. See, there's a lot of people out here that read this book, but they don't mess with it. They don't mess with discussing it. They know. They just ain't gonna mess with it, because then they gotta change all their little scheme.
Got you.
All right. To count by 10 and not by 60, rather people made. The year he also divided by 10. Question: was Marduk installing customs from the Nibiru? Remember, Anshagal divided the Shar, which is the orbit of Nibiru, into 10 parts. Also, 2 months were added to the calendar, January and February. So the watching of the moon by the watching of the sun he replaced. Whereas under the lordship of Tahuti, the older city of the north and city of the south were reestablished. Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt, which is Nubia and Sudan, are reestablished. Marduk/Ra, the two lands of the north and of the south, into one crown city united. A king, an offspring of Neteru and Earthling, he there appointed. Mena was his name. Now there's 3 different spellings of that name, 4 different spellings. Mena, Meni, Men, and Meni. He was a pharaoh in the first Egyptian dynasty.
Now that's interesting.
There goes another connection. There goes another connection to Egypt through the Anunnaki.
And that name also the men's that also resonates in South America, because when we were reading through when Rocks Cry Out by Brother Horace Butler, that's where that's the derivative from the Spanish name Menez.
Yeah, see, that's why I got it there. See, Menez is the last name that I can find. It's many men and Menez. Some pronounce it Menez. Now, when I got here, because another connection I wanted to make was that the pharaohs.
Yeah,
now,
buddy, you finna
I had to look like I don't know what to figure this out, because they claim, I got a link there, you can go and look and read up on Mena, and they'll say that he was the one who united the North and the South, Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. But here in this book, Marduk was the one that did that. So now I got to find out, well, damn, if Marduk was the one that did that, and he appointed Mena, who became a pharaoh, what happened? So now I had to go.
I think it was over in South America, but go ahead.
Oh, well, listen here. I had to go on a hunt to figure this out. So I'm already working on the line of pharaohs. I got up to the 23rd dynasty, and the information started getting screwed. One side will say this, one side will say that. So I found a site called Genie.com where I could trace the relationships of these people.
Okay.
Whose son is who and whose daughter is who, all that stuff. And you go, I got the link now. Everything you see this blue, you can click on that and go up there and look at it.
Oh, that's cool.
But okay, I had this is where I started. I started with Horus or Haran. A line of pharaohs from Haran or Horus / Nephilim.
Yeah,
gotta remember that.
Isis was Nephilim.
Yeah, gotta remember that.
That's his mama, so we gotta put it out there and tell it like it is. All right, I'm with you.
All right. Let's start with Haran. He was the son of Osiris and Isis. I ain't gonna read the rest of it. He the husband and father. He the father of Thoth and all that kind of mess.
Right.
Now, this is where they make a mistake at, I believe. Unless somebody else had the name Thoth, because nigga Sheila is Thoth, and that can't be his dad.
Okay, yeah, that's true. So they just probably got that one mixed up.
Yeah. Well, it could be, It's possible. He could have had a son named Thoth. Somebody named Rhonda. Somebody named Wendell.
Yeah, because we saw where they named different sides of the family tree the same name. So, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. Now, his son, Arihor, a pharaoh of Egypt pre-dynastic time. Then his son Ka was a pharaoh. Then his son Serket, who was the Scorpion King, he was next. Now the first dynasty. Okay, this is where I found the hookup right here. I'm looking for who was it that united the two regions.
Okay. Upper and lower.
It said it was Marduk. So I had to go and find this. Okay, we know how they play with the spelling of names. So how about I find a site that got all 50 names of Marduk on it, and one of his names was Namru.
Okay.
You see how they play with the spelling of that? And they also, when you go and look up Mena, they also call him or his father Narmer, Narmer.
That's close to Nam. Oh, wow. That's
you see what I'm saying?
Tricky,
you see how
yeah. Okay, so what you're basically saying is Mena and Marduk are probably one and the same.
No. Narmer, who is Mena's father, is Namru. Because it clearly said that Marduk was the one that united the North and the South. You see what I'm saying?
So Mena is Marduk's son.
No, Narmer is Marduk. But see, they said when you go look up Mena, his dad's name was Narmer. But it's possible that Marduk could have been his father, though.
Right.
It gets tricky now. You just have to find out what is what in order to make it work. Because now, guess what? Menes or Mena or Menes is right there in the first dynasty. That was a son of Narmer. Like I just got to explain it. So that could have been Marduk. Because he wasn't the one. He wasn't the one that united the North and the South. It was actually Marduk. But when you go into other regions, they'll say that Mena was the one that did it. No, he wasn't. It was Marduk that did it. But we gotta play with the spelling right there. So you have to figure that part out. And then from there on down through there, it's the son of each one was in succession. And I did it all the way down to the 23rd dynasty, but I ain't put all that in here because that's too many pages. I already got them. Like, I just wanted to make that connection right there. But I got 4 links.
So what do they mean when they say the two Babylons? Are they referring to Upper and Lower Egypt?
What 2 Babylons?
It's saying it there several times.
Where's 2 Babylons?
It says it starts with AKA Mena. Now see my little point just keep being looked over. When it says Pharaoh of Egypt and Semiramis, and then it has a star, the 2 Babylons. Then right up under that.
Okay. You saying Semiramis?
Yeah, Semiramis. Then it has star, two Babylons. Okay. Then right up under that, again, it says 2 Babylons. Then the next one, it says 2 Babylons. So I'm just saying, could it be possible that Marduk set up over in Africa? He also set up over in South America, but he put his son over that.
That's possible. Yeah.
That's the possible. 2 Babylons.
That's possible. That's very possible. Yeah.
Okay.
That's very possible.
That would make sense. That would make sense because all of the artifacts line right up with each other. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, so a good thing to do on that, because you got his successor and his successor's successor got the same thing there. So that'll be a good little research project right there to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a whole lot of, once you dig up something, there's more stuff attached to it.
It's something, I tell you that.
Yeah.
Woo.
And you got 4 links there where you can go look up the info on the Pharaoh. It's all kind of stuff right there. All right. Where the 2 lands meet and the great river divide, except the city Ra established. My question was, is this cartoon where the confluence of the White and Blue Nile rivers is located?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a question, because that's where it splits. But it also split up at the up in the south, which is the north, at where the Nile Delta starts at. Okay. Splendid to surpass Kishi or Kish in the first region he gave it. Menenefer, Menos Beauty, it was called. Now Menenefer, I looked that up, and that equals Memphis. And I got a link to both of them right there. Now Memphis is right there before you get to the Nile Delta, so there it is.
Okay, and just to throw my little South America stuff up in there again, because Horace Butler linked up ancient Memphis in South America.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. Okay.
All right. To honor his elders, Ra, a holy city built. To honor the Bruised King, Anu, A-N-N-U, not A-N-U, he named it. Therein, on a platform, a temple abode for his father Enki, Ptah, he erected. His head with a high tower like a sharp rocket skyward rose. Is this a description of an obelisk or a tekken?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. In its shrine, Ra, the upper part of his celestial bars deposited. Ben, it was called. Is this the cockpit of his spacecraft, or is it a conical upper part of his celestial boat?
Okay.
Now, I don't know if anybody out there went back and listened to that video of Credo Mutua. When he talked about the star people coming down here, they was come in a Ben.
Oh, I do remember him saying that.
Now let's look at the Mothership Connection. That pyramid on that album cover, that's a Ben.
Oh, heck no. You mean with
George Clinton?
George Clinton and them?
Yeah. That's what that is. That's a Ben on the front of the album cover. Everybody thinks a pyramid. That's a Ben because it looks like a pyramid.
Now I'm a straight go look that album cover up, because you know the story behind that song, right?
Oh man, at the end of that song, they talking about Easter Island and all that stuff.
Yeah, but how he said he made it was he was smoking some herb. Now, knowing him now, George Clinton now, he could have been, I don't know if he was dropping some acid, whatever the case may be, but now he said he was smoking some herb. And he got a visit, and they showed him all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's a Ben on the front cover of the Mothership album by Parliament.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Never knew that.
Oh, all right. It was the one in which from the planet of countless years he had traveled. On the day of the new year, the king, as high priest, the ceremonies performed. On that day, only alone the innermost star room he entered, before the Ben offerings he put. I want to make a point right here. I'm trying to remember back early on in the text. Marduk didn't come down here till later on, him and Ninurta.
Right.
So he came his own little thing in the Ben. I wonder if Ninurta came down in the Ben too. He probably did.
Probably so.
Yeah. Because he just said it right here. He traveled down here from the planet of countless years in it. And that's Nibiru, the planet of countless years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I just want to put that out there.
That's
right.
interesting.
To benefit the second region, Pt32 to Ra/Marduk, all manner of means gave. What do I know that you do not know? The Father, Son asked. Then all manner of knowledge, except that of the dead reviving to Ra he gave. As a great one of the 12 celestials, Ptah to Ra, the constellation sign of the Ram, which is Aries.
Mm-hmm.
The water
now,
flow.
Let's just make sure. Who has the constellation Aries?
Ra.
No.
Marduk.
Marduk. Okay. Marduk. Okay.
That's Marduk. But see, that's in if I remember correctly, that's in the way of Enki, which is in the southern sky. In other words, southern hemisphere.
Okay, because Ninurta has Sagittarius?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I want to say something right here.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and look up this information on what they have been studying on Nibiru and all the charts and stuff they put together,
mm-hmm.
some of them will tell you that Nibiru is supposed to make its pass September, October of next year.
Yes, that's what they all saying.
But Gil Bassar been saying for the last few years to start looking in March or April. That's in Aries.
Right, which lines up with the biblical prophecy of the sacrifice of the lamb, because that represents the ram, and which also is Aries is like during spring, right?
Yeah.
Which would be also associated with the Messiah and the Lamb.
Yeah. Now let's ask this question right here.
Okay.
Who is an Aries that has a great deal to do with a lot of stuff that's going on right now?
Me. Oh.
His birthday is March the 23rd. And somebody asked him what planet was he from. Now, I'll let your imagination run wild with that right there.
Okay.
You got. Now, this is what I look at when I study anything. I don't throw out no information, period.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's right up in the mix. You can't throw out no data at all.
Right.
You got to see how all this stuff tied together and what's really going on. Because if this person is actually from that planet, which we showed that all is really from that planet. Yeah,
all of us really are.
That makes a whole lot of sense for that thing to show up in the spring.
So again, who represents Ra again? The Anunnaki name. That's Marduk.
That's Marduk.
Interesting. So are you trying to say, because the birthday that you mentioned, isn't that Dr. Henderson? Is that who you're referring to?
Hey, I don't know 100%, but it's a connection in there some damn way. If what was told is true. Could be.
Interesting.
I don't know who. I don't know.
That's interesting.
I'm going to keep digging. I'm going to find that out.
That's interesting.
All right. The water flow of the Hapi, which is the Nile, the land's great river, Ptah, Ra, and his people regulated. Abundance in the fertile soils quickly came, man and cattle proliferated. The third region was far away in the eastern lands, and it was called Zamush, land of 60 precious stones. Zamush could be a variation of Shamash, meaning justice. Remember earlier, Inanna observed the other regions being established and was demanding that her region be established. Arata, the wooded realm, was in the valley of a meandering great river. Arata is the area on the eastern side of the Zagros Mountains, extending from Pakistan through Iran up to the area between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea, in the area of Lake Urmia and Lake Van near Armenia, and not so distant from Mount Ararat. In the plain of that area, the people grew crops of grain and herded horned cattle. There were 2 cities built with mud bricks filled with granaries. As required by Enlil's decree, Enki devised a changed language. Then they go with another language.
Yeah, I see that.
And a new form of writing.
There we go with that again. There we go with that. So now we know how the languages got established per region.
Yeah. Enki did not give the Medes to that region. Remember, Inanna had tricked him. Into giving her the Medes. She already got them. Let Inanna share the Medes that she obtained for UnCONPromeyezed within the third region, Enki declared. See, he pointed that out. She already got them. So let her share. Inanna had appointed a shepherd chief like Dumuzi in Arata. She traveled in her skyship over the mountains and valleys from UnCONPromeyezed to Arata. She cherished the precious stones of Zamush and carried pure lapis lazuli with her to UnCONPromeyezed. At that time, the second king to reign of UnCONPromeyezed was on the throne. His name was Enmakar, and I got a link right there where you want to look that up. He had expanded his boundaries, thereby exalting Inanna. He coveted the wealth of Arata and schemed to rule over it. He sent an emissary to Arata demanding his riches as a tribute. A tribute is taxes. Is this the first account of imposing taxes on the people to strip them of their wealth?
That's interesting. And who the hell told him to do that? Nobody. And it clearly says that he did it to rule over the people.
He coveted the wealth of Arata. He wanted to rule over them because of the wealth they had.
So this goes back.
Don't that sound like what happened to the melanated people?
Exactly. So, and remember, I kept saying that everything that happened on this planet, we were the originators of it. So there you so-and-so go.
Yeah. Yeah. That thing goes way back. See,
it goes back deep.
We've been at war for thousands of years. Long time. Right?
Yep.
The emissary went to the king of Arata and told him word for word what Enmakar said. But the king of Arata could not interpret what he was saying because their language was different.
How convenient.
As well as their written language. He responds by writing a reply message on a wooden scepter requesting Enmakar to share UnCONPromeyezed Medes with Arata. As a royal gift, he sent donkeys loaded with grain to UnCONPromeyezed. When the emissary returns, he gives Enmakar the message sent by the king of Arata, and no one could interpret it. He ordered the emissary to plant it in the garden. After 10 years, the scepter had grown into a shade tree. I laughed about that. Enmakar was frustrated and asked Utu, his grandfather, what to do. So Utu interceded with Nasaba, the mistress of scribes and writing. and she taught Imikar how to inscribe a message in the language of Arata on a clay tablet. He sent his son, Banda, to Arata to deliver his message. Now, Banda is the son of Imikar and the grandson of Utu and the nephew of his great aunt, Inanna. The message was submission or war. The king of Arata would not submit and firstly suggested that they have a duel of warriors, one-on-one in hand-to-hand combat. Inanna had not abandoned Arata at that time. However, she desired the riches of Arata and was attempting to extract it through her king in UnCONPromeyezed. Then he had a better idea, that they would have a peaceful exchange of treasures, the means of UnCONPromeyezed for Arata's riches. Now, on the way back to UnCONPromeyezed, Banda gets ill and died. His comrades left him on Mount Hurum. Neither king received anything, and in the third region, civilized mankind did not fully blossom. Special note right here. Inanna's region was originally the Indus Valley. It was one of the earliest civilizations. By some accounts, it was believed to be the first civilization. But by reading this, we know Sumer was the first civilization,
right.
Egypt, and then that one.
Right.
This account proves that it was developed as a civilization sometime after these events. It's not clear why she changed regions other than the fact that she wanted the wealth of the precious stones in the Rata area. Is this the first account of materialism?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And also notice that as, you know, they were fighting and clowning, didn't it not state that this area did not thrive?
Right.
So it was behind the times.
Yeah.
Based on the other regions.
Yep.
Very interesting. And what strikes me, though, to show you how the Anunnakis are being manipulative, because they have all of this high technology.
Yeah.
But they got people sitting up here operating on donkeys and shit. Passing messages back, writing on clay tablets, not knowing the original language, taking days to send a message to each other, when we know they got teleport devices, crystals, and all of that. So how are they following instructions to teach man or mankind and get the hell on?
It's getting out of whack now. It's getting out of whack.
Yeah, because they clowning.
You got to remember who is over everything, though. Enlil is still over everything.
Yeah, Enlil been a shit from the beginning, though.
Now, before we even get to it, since we mentioned that, you remember earlier they had when they had sickness going on in the land, and it was right before the flood. And Nineveh wanted to teach mankind how to heal themselves, and Enlil decreed it by law that they couldn't.
Sure did.
So if you take the followers of Enlil, you call them Enlilites, right?
Are you saying Israelites?
No. If you look at that real close and you take out a couple of letters, you get that word elite, because he had an elitist mentality.
You said that from the beginning, though. You said he had an elitist mentality, because I think even when Enki was trying to do few little things, he had an attitude about that. So I get it now. So Enlil basically wanted to suppress the knowledge, because if you think about, and isn't that like today? I mean, just like when we on this little show, they messes with us on a regular basis because they don't want this knowledge or certain knowledge to get out. So that goes back to even Enlil, because if mankind had the same type of knowledge that they had, meaning the Anunnaki had, there would be no reason for them to hold them up in the light of gods, right?
Right.
Very interesting. But yeah, they messing up. The Anunnaki is messing up big time, because now they down here up there talking about what's theirs, and purposely keeping the people in the dark ages.
Yeah.
So they could control, and that's not what they were supposed to be doing.
Right. See, they cut, but you notice they cut up like hell when Mom ain't down here and Dad ain't down here.
Yeah, they probably had just got back to the crib or whatever and got comfortable, and they started reclowning. But that's not the instructions that was left from them. And not only that, did not the instructions come from the creator of all?
He sure did.
But they still gonna do what the hell they want to do.
Yeah, because they're giving them instructions from where he get his instructions from.
Exactly, and they still doing what the hell they want to do. Okay, then. This ain't gonna end well, but okay.
Yeah. But see, Marduk throwing a monkey wrench in everything. He ain't let them do what they want to do because they're gonna cut him out. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
that's what he been peed about the whole time.
But not that it's so much that it's not the right thing overall for man or mankind.
Right.
It's about them down here wanting to damn rule something and be in control. And again, that was not their purpose for being here.
Nope, they're supposed to be just emissaries.
Exactly. Teaching and moving the hell on.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, all right. Now below that, you got the ninth name chart. Just the last one. That's the one I added that genealogy of the nations on the back end of it.
Right.
Then so scroll down. I got some maps behind that because you got all these different names they threw out. So you can look. If you scroll down to the maps, you can look at about the fourth one, 1, 2. After the genealogy of nations.
Okay.
Let me 1, 2. Down. Scroll down past the name chart.
Okay. You got the one. Yeah.
Go down to the third map, and you can see kind of where. This is the best representation I could find of Rada, because that stretched way on down through there. And also, you can see these river names they got up there, too.
Mm-hmm.
But see, they got them river names. See, the Gihon and Pihon was actually, and if you look at the right, if you can find it on Google Maps, I've seen people show you where the old river beds of these two rivers is down here coming into that area down there, assuming where the Euphrates and the Tigris is at down there.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, I might have.
Okay.
That might have been on something else I was studying that I found. I put those maps on, but I did find some maps that would show those two rivers down there.
Okay, but this is a great map depicting where Arata is and how it's in relation to Eden, and then right there with Assyria. So, yeah, that's a very good map to put everything in perspective.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Oh, look, I want to show you something on this map right here.
Mm-hmm.
See that name down there, Elam? E-L-A-M?
Yes.
I think that comes from the spelling of that name that we found out when we was doing the names and ranks of each one of them. Remember they said Anu was the king of the planet Olam that's in the Bible.
Sure was. Yeah, because that blew my wig back. I'm like, what? What? That was it? Okay. Yeah, that could very well be that.
Yeah, and I went and did a little research on that name, and what that name basically means is some say forever or everlasting, or like they just said earlier in this book, the planet of countless years. So that makes a lot of sense.
That does. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay.
I'm telling you, it's a lot of research you can do off this one book. You can.
Yeah, it's like the rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, and this thing is off the chain. I want to show you something else. Look at the next map down. Remember we talked about Kish possibly being a variation of Kush?
Yes.
Look right there where it says in Afghanistan, Hindu Kush. That means that was, ain't no telling that area might have stretched all the way across there.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so. And hence, I would have to pull another ancient Egyptian map. And if I'm not mistaken, the kingdom of Kush did stretch all across there, and hence why they say that they need to stop lying about Afghanistan and them, because that's part of Africa.
Yeah, see, originally, from what I know, Africa went all the way over to where it included all of that stuff up through there, all the way up there to where Syria is and Lebanon. In some kind of way, somewhere along the way, it got split off.
And even when you get to like Pakistan and India, I know someone that studies ancient maps, and they're highly, highly scientific, and they were mapping where off of the coast of India there are statues underwater buried. It's a buried city.
Yeah.
And the statues link back to Isis and Osiris.
Yeah.
It was called different names, and then when I talked to the person, I said, well, you know that name means Isis. You know that name means Osiris. They were like, what? I'm like, oh, yeah. So that would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I watched some documentaries where they found some stuff under the water right there off the coast of India. And when they got ready to really start digging, the government made them shut it off and won't let nobody go in there.
Yeah, because this person has the aerial pictures from space where you can zoom down and you can still see the sunken civilization. And as you said, as you state, they won't let you do any digging there. But now here's the thing, and anybody that's familiar with the Indian culture, I wish you would come in the queue and enlighten us, because I don't have all of their deities, and maybe I'll try to do a little research, and we'll talk about their deities and how their deities link right back to Egyptian deities. So now we know if we can link them back to Egyptian deities, we can link them back to the Anunnaki deities, right?
Yeah. You know what? I was when I was doing a little research on Olam, that thing took me into a whole nother place. I run up on Shiva Linga. And that linga was actually lingo. But what that is, now I'm gonna show you the connection to Egypt. The linga is a statue of a penis.
Interesting. Okay.
Or a phallus.
A phallus. Mm-hmm.
Or an obelisk.
Uh-huh.
Because you know that obelisk is supposedly a phallus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, and one of the gods, doggone it.
Shiva?
Okay. What's the green god? I'm going to have to jump on Google right quick.
Find that.
Okay, let me Google that right quick.
I didn't even write no notes on that because I knew I could remember that. But that's the connection to Egypt.
Yes. Okay, Hindu gods. Alrighty. Okay, and of course they didn't whiten them up. That pisses me off, but whatever. Let's see. Well, I know Ganesh. I'm gonna have to link these back. You have Ganesh, Shiva, Kali. Can't get no more. And Kali can be tied to a bunch of stuff. Durga. I'm looking for Lakshmi, Vishnu. Vishnu is blue. Krishna.
Yep.
Okay, so those are the 7, but it's still not giving me who is the god that is green. What? Because there's a green god, and he was he's the highest one.
Yeah.
Is the name?
I forget the name. I know who you're talking about, but I forget the name.
Yeah.
I had to go back and look that up.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I can't. They're saying it is Kali. I don't know. That doesn't sound familiar. But anyhow, the green god, I'll try to find it for you next week, family. He is in the Hindu Indian culture, he's linked to Osiris. And Brahma, Kelly is saying Brahma, Brahma. So let me see if I could bring Bra up right quick. Bear with me here, family. Because he's the one that's linked to Osiris and has a lot of power, and they linked him as flying around in the sky. Yep, as soon as I brought Bra up, why he looked just like a brother, looked like a Anunnaki with the beard and all. They didn't just lighten them up. And I'm on Wikipedia, and they definitely show him in different statues carved in India. He looks like the same Sumerian statues with the beard and all of that.
That's it, yeah. They was all over the planet.
So I'll do a little bit more research on it, because the one I'm looking for depicts him as green, and they link him to Osiris, and they talk about his spaceship.
Yeah. Over in that area, they call them Brahmanas. They call them Brahmanas.
Okay, yeah, because they're showing him as rising on a lotus, and that kind of symbolizes, in this particular instance, a spaceship. So I'll do a little bit more research, because there's clearly one that links him directly to being Osiris. Okay, so sorry, I know we kind of got a little bit off a point there, but I just want to make mention that all of that was Kush, because they really still worship the same quote quote gods that we now know are the Anunnaki. It's just that their names were quote different
Yeah.
But hell, now we know why the names are different, right?
Because they changed the language and the writing.
They changed the language and the writings. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But all the time they talk about the same entities or people, or however you want to say it. They talk about the same folks.
The same people, absolutely, who, because they were who they were, meaning from another galaxy older than ours, they looked at them as gods because of the technology that was suppressed from everybody else. So it's not that we weren't smart enough to have the technology. It's not that we were not worthy. They just made the decision not to pass the technology down to us because they wanted to keep control. But that's not what they were supposed to be doing.
That's right.
So very, very interesting. Okay, brother. So now we're about 10 minutes to 10. Did you want to stop here and open up the line, or you had another point you want to make?
No, stop right here, because we're going to get to we're in the 13th tablet now.
Yeah, I see that, the 13th tablet. Okay. All righty. So let me, excuse me, family, open up the phone line. Okay, so press *6 if you have a question or comment to get in the queue. Our girl jumped in there immediately. She be cracking me up. 256. So here we go. Okay, 256, your line is open.
Thank you. This is Amira in Alabama.
Greetings,
hey,
sis.
Greetings. I love you too.
Oh, we love you.
This is the perfect time for me to be sitting on my porch with my feet up and being educated on why the world looks the way it does, and it makes sense. And I hope my wonderful relative, I shared this call with a wonderful relative, and I hope they were able to get on the call and listen because they really love learning also. So I listened to that wonderful gentleman. His name is Curtis Richard Kallenbach, and he explains how they took the rituals and the ceremonies, because they are pretending to be the high priests now. Those fake folks over there.
Right.
And you notice that hat he wears. Pointed up. And last week he showed us how in 1933 that president, the one that was crippled,
Roosevelt,
brought forth the Social Security Act, federal, all that, right? That was consecrated ground.
Yeah.
That sound. I believe they duplicated exactly what they did, and what you're talking about. They want a whole using the time and energy in order to influence where we are. I think they created that it's a graveyard now. Okay, so they took the same concept and concentrated it for them under Satan. So that's the bubble that we live in, we call the Matrix. It's consecrated ground, because the way he explains it, and he can tie it up to their rituals and understanding of how they created this human creature using the afterbirth of the mother and so forth. I'm like, every time Wendell mentioned one of those terms that explains this fiat currency system, it's like, oh, that just proves to me that I know they are using this information, they use this knowledge, and they done put their little spin on it, their little hex, okay? And they think now it's just like you are holding the world in a bubble. We remember the soap bubbles we used to blow? And that's where we are. We're caught in this evil bubble, and they think, you know, they're going to hold us forever. So that's the only thing that, and I did do that. I went back last week. I went back and listened to last week's call. And now this one makes so much more continuity. So I would encourage the listeners who are not familiar with the Lost Book of Enki or any of this, when you finish with the call, we got a whole week, and if you can go back and listen to the replay of the call, especially right before the new call, you know, like tonight, right? Like sometime this afternoon, that's what I did. I waited till today. And I listened all the way through from last week's call, and now I was ready for tonight's call. And my mind, I only drifted off for maybe 2 seconds.
Because the dots started connecting.
Yeah, but I didn't miss a beat because that really helped me, and all I'm saying is I encourage anyone who, because one question, Wendell, are you saying, because someone sent me a wonderful video, and it sort of shows us how the earth is going to flip over and all these, we're going to be underwater. Alabama is going to be underwater. I thought it was just going to be the guys below us, Florida, but no. It's saying it's just going to be a little patch of earth until the water subsides. So is that going to be 2017? Because I thought we were 5 years out before this big calamity. So that's my question. Thank you. I yield.
Some say 5 years. Some say next year. I don't know. All I know is I took the numbers that I have and calculated, and it said 2017. Right. But nobody really knows. But like I always say, you better get you some food and water put up and some extra drones.
Yeah. And not only that, based on Brother Wendell's calculation, and also the Bible codes, which tie back to the Hebrew years, that 5777, and then the Bible codes mention 5776. And then a couple of the other master teachers, I remember specifically Dr. Phil Valentine saying that stuff was going to jump off in 2016, 2017. Dr. Blair said we would be freed in 2016. And he said, I want to say, and I got my little Dr. Blair notebook. I started bringing it with me. That we would be totally out of this by 2017. And then I've heard some people say, from a finance system perspective, that the new system will come online by 2018. So, I mean, that's just some examples of the various dates that I've heard concerning the years. And it's always has 2016, 2017, and 2018. Those were the 3 years that I've consistently heard, and I've been hearing this since 2013, that stuff was going to be popping off in those years.
Yeah.
So
we're right
very, very good. Yep, we're in the thick of it. Great point. Thanks, sis Amir. Great point. And just to also kind of expound a little bit more on what she was talking about these raggedy folks, meaning the Vatican and folks and the cabal, or whether or not you want to call them the elite, which today are the Caucasian folks mimicking these high sciences. And they've been doing that to control this planet. Now, let's be clear. Us melanated people, we blame the Caucasoid people for a lot of stuff. And I'm not trying to excuse them for their behavior by any means, because they chose to participate in the okie doke. But the melanated people, and I call them the dirty ones, the dirty Moors, who had the ancient knowledge, gave it to them.
Yep.
They gave them that knowledge. And they took it and they started using it. But they do know, because if they have the knowledge, they know what the prophecy states. They have the same information that we're going over now with the Lost Book of Enki and all the other ancient texts. And as we are decoding them, they've already decoded it. So they know that these years are popping off.
Yep.
And they also know it don't matter what raggedy ass ritual they do, it's over. Because as I discussed in the beginning of the show, we have shifted within our own universe, you want to say, through the Milky Way galaxy. That put us in a different age. So going into that different age, that lifted us out of the veil. That bubble that you talked about, sis, that's also known as the veil. That's been lifted. So that's why you have shows like this able to decode this stuff, you know, saying what's coming up as well as what happened in the past. So that bubble that you talk about, we're already out of it. Matter of fact, those that are listening to this show and that keep up with other things, we're standing on the outside looking back at the Matrix bubble saying, hell to the no. I cannot believe we were caught in that. So that's the age that we're in. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to say again, I don't give a damn what ritual they do. It's not going to matter. It's not going to work, because it's already done. Now, as a being, if you choose to stay in that bubble, in that matrix, that is certainly your right to do so. But you cannot be held as a sovereign being. We've already proven, just going back tonight through this show, that you were divine, a divine sovereign being. You cannot be held in that matrix against your will. I don't give a goddamn what they do. You cannot be held in that bubble. It's impossible. So I'll come off my soapbox. That's what I have to say about that.
It's all up to the individual at this point.
Exactly. Absolutely. So let me go to the next caller. Actually, another 256. So let's open that line. Okay, 256, your line is open.
Hello, this is Veronica in Alabama. Oh, my God, I didn't expect you to get to me that quick. I thought I was in the line.
Yeah, we got these 256 popping up tonight. Greetings, sis.
Oh, hello. Great to talk to you guys again. I love your show. Thank you very much for the information.
Thank you, beloved.
I just wanted to tell you that I absolutely, totally agree with you. It is a choice to stay in that bubble or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people, you know, that they're not really in it, but they don't have the information to, you know, really establish themselves. But they understand that all this is a lie, and they understand, you know, that they need to do something to get out, but they're trying to do something to get out. So that's why a lot of people are, you know, listening to the trainings like this. And thank you guys for the training. And I absolutely yield. Love you.
All right. Okay, peace and love, beloved. Thank you for that. And just to, and I see you 661, we're coming to you. But just the fact that you know that there's a bubble, you're studying and you're listening, you're not in it. That by default makes you not in it. we have to get out of this mindset that somebody, number one, has to come and rescue you out the bubble. Then, number two, you got to do something special to get out the bubble. No. All you have to do is in your consciousness say, oh, hell to the no. I am a divine being. I have sovereignty by birthright. You don't have the right to bound me in the bubble. I don't have any agreements with you. I'm up. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Now, again, it is your right. If you're comfortable with the bubble, if you feel you need to hold on to certain agreements or certain religions that may keep you in the bubble, that is your right also. But do not think you have to have a certain type of knowledge or read a certain type of book or take a certain type of herb to get out the bubble. It does not work that way. It is your conscious decision, once you know what it is, to say, I don't think so. No one bounds me for them to benefit off of me. I don't think so. That's all it takes. Real simple. Okay, so we're going to go to the next caller, which is 661. Okay, 661, your line is open.
Greetings. I am so
beloved,
to talk to you. It is my pleasure to do this.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys are so good. I mean, I'm just enthralled with this information that Wendell has presented, because it says a lot about who we are as a people, and most of us don't know who we are. So I'm just happy to get this information. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome, beloved, and thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
Now, I wanted to bring up the 577, the year. I sent an email to you because I did get the notes. And the 577 begins on October the 2nd of this year.
Whoa.
It's the New Year's Eve for the Hebrew calendar.
So you said October 2nd of 2016, right, sis?
Yes. And probably is why everything is falling apart for them at this moment, because their time is long gone.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, because I have been having a feeling that the stuff that's going to hit the fan in October, I do know that is the fiscal start of the U.S. Corps budget. So they start a new budget. And behind the scenes, I didn't have time tonight because my little notes was acting funky. But as they're talking about the election and all this other hoopla, Congress is scrambling behind the scenes trying to find funding to fund them for the next year, because their new fiscal year starts in October. So that's interesting that you say that it starts October 2nd. Very interesting.
New Year's Eve, that's Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah. That's why I say you better get on that Hebrew calendar so you know understand what's happening.
I fell off because I was on it when we were doing the Bible code, so I'm going to have to start back following it pretty closely. Isn't that interesting?
And also, the first region was Sumer on the map. According to Scripture of the Bible, Abraham came from that area in the city of Ur.
Yeah.
And, of course, he's the father of Judah, grandfather of Judah and everybody. And in the Scriptures, in Genesis 49:10, it says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah. nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Now
Yes.
you do understand you from the tribe of Judah, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
I do know that.
Okay.
All right.
And
Wait till you get down in them notes. Wait till you get down in them notes and see how Judah is linked to this right here.
Oh, boy, my wig going to be blown back. Because you do know that the prophecy states that nothing rises until Judah rises, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
interesting.
I want to speak on that olam. In the Hebrew language, Melech olam. Melech is king, and olam, I guess, is the land. But when I looked up Zechariah Sitchin's 12th planet, it's under the 12th planet, and they call it the disappearing planet. And that is, they're worshiping the king Anu.
I haven't even gotten to that book yet. I've had it for years and haven't gotten around reading it.
We went over that last week when we were doing the ranks of the 12. They said that they referenced Zechariah Sitchin's book.
Right.
That he was the king of Olam, the biblical Olam.
Exactly.
Talking about the same thing.
And so when you look at the first region where Abraham was, and he was in Sumer, and they gave the scepter to the king there, that means that was the first, and then we became last. And now we're coming back around.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go.
Exactly. So, and it's already been written, so the same raggedy people that's doing these weak rituals, they already know that.
Yeah, they do. I'm sure they do. They have to. They're so confused.
Absolutely.
They are so confused right now. They're running to and fro and trying to borrow and to beg, and everything actually belongs to us. So I was just like, wow, that's how that ties in.
Yeah, it's a lot. I know. This just has so many rabbit holes. It's amazing.
Well, I thank you so much, and I yield.
Okay. Well, thank you, beloved. Thank you, sis. Peace and love. She brought up some excellent points, tying everything in. Great hearing from you, sis.
Oh, yeah.
So, Brother Wendell, that appears to be the last of our calls. So did you have any last words for the family?
We got 2 more tablets now. The 14th tablet is kind of short. But this is where the fireworks come in at right here in the 13th tablet.
Oh.
That's what they show. That's when Mardu showed up go cutting up.
Yeah, and I just refuse to read ahead because I want to be surprised as you're going over the information. We got another caller, 440. So that's why I don't even read ahead, because I want to be surprised. But what's just really tripping me out, I don't read ahead, but it seems like every week the stories that I'm finding in the news, it ties right into what we be talking about. I'll be cracking up.
It ties right into it.
I'll be just cracking up. So hold on a second. Let me go to 440. Okay, 440, your line is open.
Yes, greetings.
Greetings, beloved.
I just want to say you guys did another good job. Wendell, this is Yvonne. We spoke earlier this week, and I just wanted to say I told you I would listen in and support you guys, and you guys did a great job, man. You guys really linked things together, man. I mean, it was really good. Let's put it that way. It was really good.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, I enjoyed tonight, huh?
Yeah. Just wait till you can just get in them notes. Get in them notes and go down through them notes. You ain't seen nothing yet, because we almost at the end. Get in them notes.
Exactly. Yes, I'm going to send you an email also to thank you for the notes. I did receive them, and I actually checked them today. even though I didn't have time to go over them, but I wanted to make the call anyway. But I'm here, man. And I just wanted to say, you guys did a great job. Yeah. And also, Amira's, she linked it quite well, what she was saying as far as when she spoke of how they use like the contract and the bond and all of that stuff, the rituals of old to today, because when she said that, she linked it quite well together as far as the rituals and how they trapped us today, just using the bond and all the other stuff that they use to trap us in this matrix, in this bubble that you, like you said, Rhonda. So, all the comments were on key, and they were lined up, and they were all in one accord that was spoken today. So.
Absolutely. Well, great, brother. Well, thank you. I'm so glad that you could join us tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you all.
Okay. All right, beloved. All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Okay. All right, Brother Wendell. So an excellent job as usual. We learned some explosive information. So did you have any last words for the family? Dag, 248. Wait a minute. Every time when I get to wind it down, y'all know if you don't get in there before we say that last little sign off, that's it. So, okay, 248. Okay, so
hello.
248.
Greetings. Salutations. Rhonda Wendell and the family. This is Vic Robinson. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say the show was great. Everything was on point. Thank you for shouting out to me, Rhonda. And I love you all. I'm at work right now, so it's kind of loud. But like I say,
I get it.
I love you guys.
Okay, love you too, Brother Vic. Peace and love.
All right now. Peace and love.
Okay. All right, family. And Brother Vic was the one that gave me the little article about the 13th zodiac being added. So I had hit him up and told him I was going to discuss that tonight, because that article blew my wig back that NASA is forced to admit that now we have 13 constellations. So again, thank you, Brother Vic, for that. I truly appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's the last call. So, all right, Brother Wendell, what's your last word for the family?
Yeah, stay tuned. Like I said, the 13 tablets is fireworks, and I don't know exactly how many pages down before we get to that zodiac information, but that's going to be a show enough trip.
Oh boy!
But now what we got to figure. This is where we need to start figuring something out, Rhonda. We got to figure out how we going to continue this, because it don't stop here. Remember me telling y'all from the beginning, it's a long ride.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because I do want to go back to the El Holy Tablets. I have to remember where we're going to pick up. And did you read the 12th planet yet? I know I haven't read it.
Shoot, I ain't had time to get to it, but I'm still finding stuff on there.
Yeah, me too.
That's why I had to
haven't had a chance either.
That's why I had to hurry up and get to a point where I could just give you the notes, because I know it's a whole lot more stuff out there off of this.
Yeah. So, we're definitely going to pick back up with El Holy Tablets, and then we're also going to pick back up on the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilee. I just personally don't have the bandwidth to bring in another ancient text, because I really, you have put me on to stitching. I have a new love for his work, a new respect for it, actually, because he laid it down in Lost Book of Enki, hands down. So I definitely wouldn't mind bringing in some of his other texts. I just don't personally have the bandwidth.
Yeah, his his niece is taking care of his website and stuff now, and she's released two books. One of them is the Earth Chronicles Expedition, and one is the Anunnaki Chronicles.
That's interesting.
And I think the Earth Chronicles Expedition is a compilation of all his books.
Okay.
Because it has another book that comes with it called the Earth Chronicles Handbook, which is a guide. Which is a guide to the 7 books of the Earth Chronicles.
Okay. So yeah, we'll talk. You can hit me up, and then we'll discuss how we're going to bring another text in. But I'm gonna leave that up to you, because I mean, you did an excellent job, hands down, with the Lost Book of Enki. And as I keep saying, just on your notes alone, you could do a spinoff, really, and write your own book. I know you said you're not interested. I'm just saying, that's just how much information and jewels are packed in those notes. I'm just still blown away. So I know I'll be referring back to your notes for years to come. And even as we move through the Creation Story Myths series, we'll be using your notes to refer back to them as well. And real quick, before I forget, Sis Lioness did send you and I an article, and we just been so deep into the Lost Book of Enki. And basically, family, that article, they're trying to rumor to say that Press O and them, so meaning the elite, went either to Antarctica or off the coast of South America, and they supposedly met up with one of the Anunnaki. And they were trying to say, did they try to say was the article saying it was Enki they met up with, that they had a meeting with, or was it Marduk?
Marduk.
Okay, it was Marduk. So yeah, supposedly all of these world leaders met. I can't remember if it was South America, Argentina, or if it was the Arctic. And all of them was breaking their neck to get to this meeting, and supposedly they were meeting up with one of the Anunnaki, quote, quote, Marduk. And in addition, as I was talking earlier, when I've been doing some research on the side about this whole Mandela effect, they also been talking about the crossing of Nibiru. And folks are tracking all of these planets that they're seeing in the sky. And I know specifically, I keep talking about that second sun, and just recently, about a month ago, I saw what I thought was the second sun zoom across the damn sky so quick. And we had somebody document it on camera, and exactly the look of it, the shape of it, the size of it, and how quickly it moved across the sky was exactly what I just saw just a month ago. So there's a bunch of stuff going on, family, and I think it's just going to keep jumping off more and more here. So
let me hold on just for a minute.
Okay.
What I want to do is get a call on this website.
Okay.
Go to moongiant.com.
Let me mark that.
And watch that moon, because it's dancing. It's doing something that,
okay, I'll mark it too.
According to what they put up on this website, they saying the moon's supposed to come up at a certain time of day, what time of day it'll be at a certain point, and when it's going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
But for the last 2 days, they've been wrong. That moon's been dancing. But see, I have to go back and remember the celestial battle and the agreement that the planets made
to get out the way.
To get out of the way.
It makes sense. Well, you certainly validated for me when I was telling you that, I have to look all around the sky because I don't know where the hell the moon going to show up.
What you do?
And then sometimes I straight don't see it, although Sis Segment told me, well, no, Rhonda, that was a new moon. Okay, I'm a give that particular time I didn't see the little moon. It was new moon. But there's been other times it wasn't new moon, and it's just not in the position it's supposed to be in. So you've certainly clarified that for me.
Yeah. But you can go to that website and keep a watch on it, and then go outside and look.
Okay.
And the way you want to do it is just like when the sun comes up, look over in the east first, and then just kind of create an arc with your vision, like you're looking at it come from the east and go up to its half sun and go down in the west. Just trail your eyes in that direction like that, and you'll see it.
Very interesting. So I'm gonna be keeping a watch on you, moon, now that I got the little sight and be comparing it to. So
yeah.
Well, okay, family, we are going to sign off. We want to thank you so much for your love and support. So we will be back next Thursday with the Lost Book of Enki and also with the weekly news. So with that, we want to say peace, love, truth, freedom and justice, one heart, one mind, and one spirit. So we're going to say nightfall, family, and we are going to rock out with some music. We love you very much, family. So we're going to rock out with some house music tonight. Love you.
Oh, man.
Peace and love. Peace and love.